Tony Khan has criticised the WWE Saudi Arabia deal, an NXT championship was surprisingly vacated last night, and an Attitude Era star wants to return at WWE Extreme Rules. Stay tuned for the news. Now we're kicking things off in the second news video of today, talking a bit about Tony Khan taking some shots at WWE. Now, it's not like he's ever done this before, you know, he won't sit there and take this. But he's
sit here and take this.
Last night he tweeted a GIF with the caption, "Are you ready for some football?" Now, of course, that just seems quite, you know, just normal. He's
involved with Jacksonville Jaguars.
Exactly, he's the owner of the team. He likes some football, but this could possibly be a reference to WWE's recent ratings dip thanks to the start of the NFL season.
Yeah, they've suffered a dip, which wasn't unexpected. I think this seems to happen most years around this time when the NFL season starts. We've had 2 weeks of football.
Now, WWE's had some pretty good ratings recently. It has been up, especially in the demos. I know that's what they always like to talk about in WWE and AEW, but yeah, being down for the football, that makes sense. But he also made reference to WWE's controversial Saudi Arabia deal. It was recently announced, obviously, Crown Jewel 2022 will be headlined by Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul. A match I'm quite excited
Honestly,
for. I don't know about you.
Yes.
It's going to be good.
Against my better judgment, I am excited
I'm buzzing for it. But when speaking about different wrestling markets in an interview with News 12, Khan said that the American Northwest is the Northeast is the crown jewel of wrestling markets. The real crown jewel, not some BS overseas in Saudi Arabia. I wonder what he's referring to.
Wow.
Makes it very subtle.
It's a subtle one. I mean, it's hard to argue with him in one sense, isn't it? Because from the start of WWE's deal with Saudi Arabia, everybody's seen it as quite corporate, quite soulless, just all about the money. But at the same time, I don't know whether this is the best optics for AEW and Tony Khan. At this time, when all the eyes are on AEW and all the internal strife going on there, does it look great that he's chosen now to fire shots at WWE? I don't know if it does. I think it might make him look like he's deflecting.
I definitely agree. I think him taking a shot somewhere else instead of being like, look, we have had some issues recently.
Yeah.
He's trying to call them out, going, well, they've got issues too. They've got this deal. And he's right to criticize. I think people are right to criticize WWE for that deal. But in a way of him just being like look at the crap they're doing. It's worse than ours.
I have to admit, with the American football one, which was possibly a shot at the ratings, I wasn't certain what that was about. The Jaguars could have signed a player who's really good or something. Yeah. But I looked in the replies, and nearly everybody in the replies was saying, like, is this a shot at WWE?
I think it's due to timing, really, because the ratings had just come out for Raw, and then he tweets, "Are you ready for some football?"
Tony.
And he said in the past that he's not going to sit there and take this. Perhaps this is him not sitting there and taking it. He's taking the fight to them in the sense of like, look, we're going to go back to talking crap about your ratings. We're going to call you out on your...
I just don't know. I feel as though... And I was in favor of, I didn't mind Cody smashing the throne and all the sort of shots fired between the two companies earlier on. And I would get annoyed when people would be like, oh no, they should just focus on their own thing. Because I was like, no, this is cool. It's combative. It's saying we're here to challenge them. But now I'm looking at it as like, maybe when AEW's gone through a bit of a controversial period themselves, maybe it's not the best time to do that.
Yeah, definitely not. Well, it is a controversial period in AEW. They're crowning a new champion tonight with a vacant belt. And speaking of vacant belts, on last night's NXT, Shawn Michaels approached the NXT North American champion Solo Sikoa and forced him to vacate the title that he won from Carmelo Hayes last week. What went down, Jack?
So last week, Wesley won a fan vote, a bit of a mini Cyber Sunday situation, where Wesley won the fan vote to be the number one contender for the North American Championship, but then he was taken out backstage. So Solo Sikoa turned up unofficially as like a surprise opponent for Carmelo Hayes, won the match and won the North American Championship from Carmelo Hayes, who's been a very strong, it was quite a big deal, he's been a very strong champion. And it was quite surprising, I think, because Solo Sikoa had just graduated to the main roster as part of the bloodline. It seemed like he was there to stay, and suddenly he's back in NXT with the North American belt. I was like, on one hand, is this a step back for him? But on the other hand, the bloodline now has a belt in NXT. They've got the tag belts. They've got the main belt. Like, it all kind of made sense. But now, this was another surprising twist for me. Michaels approaching him and saying, look, you weren't officially meant to be in that match, so we're stripping you of the belt. I was surprised.
It's come around so quickly. Like, why give him the belt in the first place? Because it's like, well, this last night's NXT was taped. It was taped last week.
Right.
So he's won it. They knew the booking was intentional, unless this was filmed post that. But it's just a strange move to go with, given the belt, take it off him. I guess it's raised his star power on SmackDown, like you said. He's come in with a belt. It's made him feel like a big deal, but now he's not going to have that.
It's a bit of a strange one. Unless he ends up being put in the match for the vacant belt, which Shawn Michaels announced, there's going to be a 5-way ladder match at TakeOver Halloween Havoc on October 22nd. One of the competitors will be Carmelo Hayes. We don't know any of the other 4 yet, but I've assumed here in the notes anyway that because there's quite a few weeks until that show, they might do qualifying matches to decide who's going to be in it.
That'd be a really fun way to do it, actually. I love a tournament. And
to have a tournament for each individual spot in the match.
Yeah. A 16-man tournament, round robin. But it is exciting. I'm looking, whatever match that's going to be is going to be good. Carmelo Hayes is a fantastic talent. I'm trying to think of names that could jump in
Wesley,
there.
because he never got his shot. Maybe Grayson.
Von Wagner.
Maybe Von Wagner
in that match, he could win that one.
He could actually be in that match. You don't want all flippy guys in ladder matches.
He was in the poll, wasn't he?
He was in the poll to face. Yes, he was. Joe Gacy was also in the poll.
Yeah.
Could he be in the ladder match?
It'll be an exciting match. But a report from Fightful, keeping on the NXT thing, has said that WWE submitted filings on September 16th to trademark not only NXT Europe, but NXT Global.
They're taking over the
world.
It's
that global localization that he talked about.
And now Triple H is at the helm. We're going to do it. We being NXT.
We are NXT.
We are NXT. We're going to take over the world.
I'm optimistic, but also very worried about what NXT Global could possibly be.
Me too. I'm intrigued to see how well they do. And it could be a story that unfurls slowly over a number of years, because they've only really established themselves in the UK. They've not established themselves yet in other traditional wrestling markets like Mexico or Japan. And in Japan, I remember they tried to, or there was reports they were reaching out to, I think it was Noah maybe, to try and forge a partnership,
they did,
or maybe Dragon Gate or DDT. I think it was Noah. And it just didn't happen. Yeah. And in Japan, I think they'll struggle to find a way into what is already a really competitive market.
Yeah, they kind of have to really sort of establish a deal with a company that's already there. Obviously, we've got, as you said, Noah was one that they might have looked in the past. I feel like that's probably their best option. But we've seen like rumors, people talking and speculating, and looking at the map that Triple H showed in, I think 2018, he wanted an NXT Mexico, he wanted an NXT India,
Middle East.
Yeah. There was one in Japan. It's, there's all these opportunities. I only worry that it will kind of take away from the independent markets that we saw NXT UK do.
Well, we here in the UK have had first-hand experience of what an NXT brand can do. It very much felt like NXT UK, despite the talent involved, and there was some of the best wrestlers in the world in NXT UK, but the way they were used, it very much felt like it was a blocker to the UK scene. It was a spoiler, and it was just to like kind of drain the scene of its talent, sign all the top talent, and then and it worked. The UK wrestling isn't dead at all, but it's certainly not got the energy it did behind it in the late 2010s, I'd say, the mid to late 2010s.
You're spot on there. But keep an eye on NXT Global. And we're going to look at things globally just now, Jack, because we're going over at New Japan.
Here, these
Pro
segues,
Wrestling.
Fraser, are insane, I've got to say.
Thank you.
You're like
Kendrick
Lamar.
We're talking about Kushida. Tell me a little bit about Kushida, Jack.
Kushida, it's unfortunate news about Kushida, sadly. He's set to miss today's New Japan Burning Spirit event. A company update revealed that this is a precaution due to suspected skin disease. We don't really know too much about that. It sounds very serious. Hopefully it's not.
It's okay.
Best wishes, of course, to Kushida. And also, he missed a show last weekend due to a fever, although I think his COVID test came back negative, so I don't think he had COVID. But he's just had a bad run of luck with health recently.
And he's kind of, this is his big comeback to New Japan. Obviously, he's been back a wee while now, but like this,
he's not had a big moment. You know?
He's not had a big moment, and it kind of feels it sucks because he's a really good talent, and his NXT run was very disappointing.
I will say he was set to be today in a 10-man tag team match, so it wasn't going to be a big singles match. However, on the bad side, New Japan often use these big multi-man matches to set up a singles feud, so it could have been,
It could have been something, but we're going to finish on a piece about an Attitude Era star, wanting to make a comeback to WWE. Now, Ken Shamrock is the man in question. He responded to a fan on social media who suggested that the Fight Pit match at Extreme Rules be the perfect place for him to make a WWE return. Of course.
Yes, it's the Fight Pit.
It's the Fight Pit, but having him return in that match...
Well, he could referee it. Maybe I've suggested anyway,
Okay.
because he refereed one of the most famous WWE matches ever, which was Austin versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13.
Yeah.
He played a crucial role in the double turn because he pushed Bret Hart and he went, "Come on, then!" And we didn't do it like
Yeah,
that.
he did.
And
Exactly like that.
Bret didn't fight him. He chickened out, and that solidified his heel turn almost. But I don't know. This seems to be just a kind of Shamrock taking advantage of this fan suggestion. Fair play to him and trying to use it to suggest something to WWE.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, but Lewis from Cultaholic pointed out, one of our fantastic writers here, pointed out that Shamrock has not appeared, he doesn't believe, in WWE once since the end of his run in 1999.
Really?
Which is crazy, because nearly everybody comes back at least once.
And like he's quite a big name. Like people know Ken Shamrock.
In the wrestling world
In
and
the
the
wrestling
MMA
world,
world.
yeah. So it's like if he's not appeared since 1999.
He obviously has appeared in wrestling. He was part of TNA or the
yeah.
early days, or Impact, or NWA
He's
TNA.
still doing stuff with Impact every now and again. So it's not actually out of the realm of possibility that he could see another WWE run. He's just a bit old.
He is, but
Do we need him?
I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him in a sort of maybe refereeing capacity, especially in the fight pit, because he's linked to that sort of stipulation. I could easily see him being able to like punch Rollins after or something, you know what I mean, or like take him down.
I mean, wasn't Kurt Angle was the referee for the fight pit in NXT between Riddle and Thatcher?
Was it that one? Okay.
Yeah, so possibly Ken Shamrock being involved in that part of it, being the referee, but he replied to the fan on Twitter going, "I couldn't agree more." And I always find it funny when you see people reply about jobs and going, "Of course you want the job."
Of course he does.
Of course, when it's like when actor goes, "Yeah, I'd love to be in Marvel movies." It's like you want money.
But you know what? I wouldn't be against it. Wrestlers try to push for things all the time, but in this instance, I think it's fine. I'd be happy with it.
Yeah, I would be happy with it. But that is all the news for today. If you want to go and I did a video all about the White Rabbit stuff, which we talked about in video 1. Go and watch that. It's on the channel just now. Jack, have you got anything else you'd like to plug?
Yes, myself and Owen will be doing Twitch tonight, as we do every Wednesday. Twitch.tv/Cultaholic. We'll be doing a bit of Football Manager with Cultaholic FC. Up the Fabes.
Up the Fabes. But that's all. Catch you later.